All right, class, first off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. Today, we are going to be talking about the Russo-Japanese War. Now, I'm sure some of you guys are already thinking, like, didn't we just talk about the Russians like a couple lessons ago? Yes, we have been. This is, again, the time when, right before World War One, a lot of countries are forming alliances and breaking off friendships and things like that. And mainly, countries are upset at other countries and things like that. This is one of those instances where one country is going to be known as like, "Wow, you're no joke," and another one's going to be seen as more like, kind of disappointing you, and you're not as fearsome as you used to be. So let's look at that. Okay, this lesson is going to be in two parts. The first part is again how everything got to be, and then the second one, the second half of the video, is how it ended. So the objective today, we're going to analyze how the Russo-Japanese War started. Then we're going to examine international law, I should say law, said about attacking a country in 1904. And then we're going to create an argument on what should happen to advisors who lie or underestimate their opponent. When I mean advisors, it's these people um, who are on the right side of these generals and these presidents and kings and things like that. Um, those ones who are supposed to give them advice, and suggestions and things like that. So when they underestimate or they just straight up lie, what should happen to them? That's where we're going to create an argument at the very end. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the first question. The first one says, who do these two guys represent? What countries do they represent? Okay. Now, if you look closely, if you look at their um, clothing, it says on there which country they are from. Okay. Now, the second question asks you, does it look like that these guys are putting in the cork, or does it look like they're taking it out? From your analysis, from your own judgment, what do you think? Does it look like they're putting the cork in or they're taking it out? Okay, and explain to me why you believe that. Okay, so talk about their mannerisms, talk about their body posture or whatever. Okay, just be sure you put that down. Okay, so pause the video, write your response because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right. So in 1904, Tsar Nicholas II, which is that guy right there in the picture, you see, he rules Russia, and Russia is truly the one of the biggest, largest territorial powers in the world. Okay, their land mass is big. It's humongous. It's the biggest in the world. Okay, but you have to remember where Russia is. It's near the north. There's a lot of ice and snow and things like that up there, okay? Now, Russia has been wanting warm waters, you know, since the Crimean War. Because again, up above, it's all ice. And if they try to send a ship out into the sea, that ship might hit icebergs, or if it's too cold, the ship, when it's in the water, it'll freeze, it'll get stuck. That has happened before. So they want warm water, so that they don't have to worry about icebergs and things like that. They want a port in the Pacific area. Now, they want it for two reasons. Number one is truly their navy, to attack and to go places here and there. But it's also for their trade. They want to be able to trade with other countries instead of having to rely on another country to trade for them. They would have to rely on a country like Finland, you know, France, Germany, Italy, things like that, to trade with a country like Egypt, things like that. They would need those countries to trade with them, and then they can get stuff from Egypt, you know. So they're like, hey, but if we had access to warm waters, we could send our own ships over. We won't have to rely on the middleman type of thing. Okay. Now, Tsar Nicholas II had his sights on the Korean and Liaodong Peninsula. He was like, that'd be a perfect place to have a port of our own and to do our trades and have our ships there and things like that. Now, they leased a port on the peninsula called Port Arthur. You're going to hear this name come quite a bit in the next two lessons. Okay, but the thing is, they didn't want to lease it. Leasing is like you are paying to use it, you're renting it, but you don't really own it. And they're like, we want to own it. Problem is, they can't, and the person who owns it doesn't want to sell it. Japan had a reason for concern of Russia being in that region. Okay, Russia and Japan, they kind of butted heads a little earlier, because in the Sino-Japanese War between China and Japan, Russia supported the Chinese. Okay, he supported the Chinese. So when Japan's like, wow, you're going to side with them over us? Okay, we'll remember that. And it ended up coming to fruition, just basically about 10 years later. They're like, okay, yeah, no, we remember you. We remember what you were doing, all this stuff. Yeah, so we don't want you in this area. You know, you didn't support us in that war. We don't want you here in this time, in this area. Thing is, though, they know Russia is a powerful country. They are very warlike people. They are tough people. You again, being where they're from and stuff like that, they are a tough group of people. So again, Japan knows Russia is very war-driven and aggressive country, and they try to make a deal with them, saying, okay, we'll give up the Manchuria area, okay? But under their same agreement, Japan would have control on the influence over Korea. And Russia was like, no, no, we don't want the Manchuria area. We want that peninsula. We want Port Arthur. Okay, they made demand that Korea, north of the 39th parallel, will serve as a neutral point between the two countries. Okay, so Japan and Russia are talking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, trying to negotiate, see if there's a peaceful resolution. But then all of a sudden, on February 8th, 1904, the talks just end, and Japan does a surprise attack on the Russian Navy of Port Arthur. Okay. So here's your first question. Do you think that when a person offers a peace offering, do you think that's a sign of weakness, or is that a smart way to avoid a conflict? What do you think? So think of it like, I try to put it in simpler terms, like if two people are about to fight, one person says, hey, you know what, let's talk about this. Would you say like, oh man, that's dude, you're just scared. That's why you're trying to do this. You're trying to figure out the problem because you're scared to fight. Or do you think it's like, no, that's a smart thing to do, best to both you guys not get injured and both you guys don't cause any more ruckus. Yeah, that's a smart thing to do. What do you think? And think about countries. Is that a sign of weakness if a country offers a peace offering? Or is that a sign of weakness? Okay. Pause the video. Tell me what you think. Okay. Because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. Now, here's the thing. When Japan attacked, Russia didn't receive a notice from Japan that they intend to attack until a couple hours before the Port Arthur was attacked. They didn't say, hey, we're going to end negotiations and then we're going to attack until a couple hours beforehand. So that tells you, if you look at this map right here, Japan is right here, right along the side. Port Arthur is right here. It takes more than a couple hours to go from here to there. Okay, it takes more than a couple hours. And you're going to find out a little bit later too that they set up something here in the Yellow Sea area, so it would have taken more than a couple hours. They planned this. They planned to stop negotiations and attack. You're going to find out later on Japan does this again to the United States in about like 30 some years. Okay. Thing is, this attack really hurt the Russians. I mean, bad. Their navy was almost completely destroyed. At this point, Tsar Nicholas II, his advisors are telling him, oh, don't worry about Japan. We can handle them. They aren't that big and powerful. Look how big they are. Look how many people they probably have. Their navy's not that great. Ours is superior. We'll defeat them. Okay, even after Japan attacked and destroyed the ships, the Russian advisors were telling Tsar Nicholas, "We're good. We'll defeat them." Now, here's the thing: I get a lot of questions of: could a country just attack out of the blue? At that time, international law says no formal declaration of war is needed in order to attack a country. So you don't have to say, hey, we declare war on you, or negotiations has stopped and we're going to war with you. They didn't have to do that. They could just attack. But the rules changed in 1907 at the Second Hugh Peace Conference. Basically, then, when a country is going to attack, they have to say, we declare war on you. Okay? Because again, that gives time for people to be like, oh man, they're probably going to attack here because they're closer to that area than over here. So get the civilians out, things like that. Okay? So a declaration of war, formal declaration of war is needed to attack a place. Just can't attack. Okay? All right, so here's my next question to you. If a country intends to attack another country, do you believe they should give the other country like a countdown or a notice, like, hey, we're going to be attacking you guys in, a couple days. We declare war on you. We're going to attack on tomorrow. Should they give them notice or should they just straight up attack? We declare war, boom. Before you can even blink your eyes, we're already attacking. Should they allow those type of surprise attacks, type of things? What do you think? Should there be a countdown? Should there be a notice saying, hey, we're going to attack? We're at war with one another. We're going to attack. Or do you think, hey, they should be able to do a surprise attack? No declaration of war. Just if you're going to attack them, attack them. What do you think? What do you believe? Okay. So pause the video, write your response. Okay. Because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right. So again, the attack on Port Arthur was meant to neutralize the Russians, basically stop them in their tracks. And it basically did. The Japanese admiral, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name, he had torpedoed 3 of the largest ships in the Russian Navy. Okay, I'm not going to try to pronounce that first one or second one, but the third one, Palada, sure, I can pronounce that one. The other 2, I'm going to kill that name or those names. So the Japanese tried to create a blockade to stop all the ships from escaping, but they actually failed. 2 ships actually made their way out of that little cul-de-sac where Port Arthur was, and that was on April 12th, 1904. The Petrovosk and the Pobeda, those 2 ships actually got away. Right, they were actually able to get to the Yellow Sea and get out of the way of the attack. Now, the picture you see here, that's the Petrovosk. Okay. Thing is, as they were going out to sea, they hit some sea mines. And if you've ever seen the movie Finding Dory, you know when that the shark tosses the torpedo and it hits the sea mine, that is true. It just takes a little bump and then, and typically when one goes, the other ones will go too, and that's what happened to the ship. It took too much of a damage and it sank. The Pobeda, however, it did hit some sea mines, but it wasn't bad enough to where it sank, but it was damaged very, very severely. And yeah, it was able to like limp into a port, you know. But yeah, it was badly, badly damaged. All right, so here's your next question. Who do you think is going to win the Russo-Japanese War? The Russians or the Japanese? And tell me, why do you think that? Why do you think they're going to win? Okay, explain to me why. Okay, so go ahead, write your response to that. Okay. All right, so now we come to the exit ticket. The first question asks you, do you think Tsar Nicholas's advisors should be punished for underestimating the Japanese? You know, they told him, hey, they're gonna be easy and this and that. Um, they weren't. They weren't in a pushover, you know. So what do you think should happen to them? Do you think that they should be punished for that? And what kind of punishment would you suggest? The second question is, do you think Russia has a right to access to warm waters? Okay? Because you have to remember, it's not their fault that it gets cold in that territory, in that area. It's not their fault. You know, it's the same thing like in LA. You know, they don't have access to fresh water. Yeah, they got the Pacific Ocean right there, but all their water gets pumped to them. Again, it's not their fault from where they live that there's no fresh water, you know. But should they have access to fresh water? Again, same thing with the Russians with the warmer waters. Should they have access to it? It's not their fault where they live. It's always snowing and stuff like that. So what do you think? Yes, no, and explain why. Okay. Once you finish this question, you're done with this lesson. Okay. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned something new. Um, Again, if you weren't in class for this one, um, make sure you get all those questions answered. Turn it in to me or into the cupboard, the little green tray things I have right there by the side of the door. Be sure you turn it in there. Make sure your name is on your paper. That's a big one too. And which class are you in? Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Wednesday. Okay. So, you guys, you have a good day. You take care. You be safe, okay?